Good evening, everybody. I'm in Vegas and for work, and Blake's back home, so apologize for the delay. I really did what I could to try and get us together, but it's the end of the year and I got a lot of travel, so it's delayed me from getting together with everybody so we can try and sync everybody up for what is episode 40 as we get to our final race of the season here this weekend at Phoenix. But we're going to talk about Martinsville, the lawsuit update, the Sam Mayer suspension, and playoff potentials, and more. So, with that, let's start with this weekend's penultimate race, setting the stage for this will be the last winner take all championship. Thank God.
We
Um,
hope.
and it's fitting that it's going to be the last. Well, this format is dead. I'm not saying we won't have playoffs still, but we're 100% not doing this again. It's changing. The three options on the table per Jordan Bianchi with his inside sources are three races, cut, three races, cut, four races to the finish. We don't know how many drivers are in each round, just that and how many are eligible in the turn.
Last, I do know. Last round would be six.
Okay, so that's one option. The 10 race chase is another option. And going back to the original 36, those are the primary three options. There's all kinds of other things they could do, but those are the three being, decided on still. So this will be the 12th and final year of this. So this weekend's racing in Martinsville, we came with a softer tire. Um, I don't know that it really did what they hoped it would do here, and I think that's more to the temperatures. They did say it was cold, especially because especially on the Xfinity, it was they raced at night. I don't know why they run that race at night. The warmer, we've already seen the warmer the soft tires are, the better the wear is. When you get them to where it's colder, they tend to degrade, not necessarily wear, but they instead of just generating fall off like we saw at Bristol when it's cold, they come apart, they cord, and they fail. And that's not the direction we want to go. So hopefully they'll address that. But Corey,
Well,
hi.
apparently the
Yep, go ahead.
tire actually, the left side, the right side was the same. The left side was softer, and apparently I felt like it did better. I know I've been seeing a lot of different opinions on that, but I saw a lot more with as cold as it was. I saw a lot more comers and goers than I thought you would, if that makes any sense.
I agree.
And and I think that that's a move in the positive direction when it comes to the tires.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not saying this tire had zero impact. I just don't think it had as high a fall off as expected, just based off temperatures and the time of the year.
Right.
That let's say we move this race back 2 weeks where it's a little warmer there, where we're still in the 70s and 80s, we probably get
Yeah.
a higher fall off of comers and goers. But we definitely had people come through the pack, and all you need to do is see where Ryan Blaney started, dead last, all the way to the front. I mean, clearly they've got it figured out there. Doesn't matter what the tire is. We'll see how an extra horsepower next year plays into that. But the Penske guys were a threat as expected. I mean, they almost pulled it off. But so our field is set. HMS showed up with speed. I was happy for that. Byron qualified on the pole. Uh, Chase was sixth, and Larson was third. So they they ran well in practice. They qualified well, and they raced well. So that gives me hope for this weekend, especially now that Penske's been shut out. So that screwed up my whole prediction of Penske going 4 for 4. So that totally fucked me. And HMS getting shut out. So I was wrong on both counts. Damn it.
I think I got 2 out of 4. I might have got 3 out of 4. I know I didn't get 4 out of 4 because I had Bubba in there.
I don't have my thing in front of me, but I know I didn't have any HMS drivers in my final four. I had Blaney and Logano, and I think I had Bell and Hamlin. Yeah.
I know
I
I had
didn't
Hamlin
have
and
Briscoe.
Larson. I might have had Briscoe, but I had Bubba Wallace as a get in, but he would definitely not have made it because his Martinsville showing was horrendous. He
For
was a
somebody
lap
that,
down, like
yeah,
maybe laps in or something.
for a guy that normally finishes in the top 10 there and
Yeah.
usually runs pretty well there, he was nowhere to be found,
They
unfortunately.
definitely lost something there.
Um, so. we can start with, trucks. Heim wins again. Yeah.
That's a record.
Yeah. That was the 11th, right?
Yep.
Yep. So Heim wins again in Xfinity. We had basically a rematch of the spring race where at the end of the day it was Sammy Smith right by Taylor Gray, and Sammy has matured and learned from it and did not. He had the opportunity. He could have dive bombed him in there at the end during that final restart. He didn't do it. So that was good to see that for once they didn't. Uh, to me, the Xfinity series showed that they can still have nice things. They didn't go in there and, you know, mess everything up.
Yeah.
And after the caution, that's when, Sam Mayer showed why he still is, you know, not worthy of being a cup.
I'm wondering if he's going to lose his ride over this. They have a perfect opportunity to get somebody else, and
Yeah.
I am and with this story, Ryan Sieg that normally drives 39 is going to drive the 41, and I've been wondering for 2 years now. I haven't mentioned it on the show, but I've been wondering for 2 years why somebody hasn't tried to pick him up. They have.
Yeah.
It's a family company. He either makes the playoffs or is very close every year.
Yep.
And he's a racer. And I am very, I mean, I know it's short notice. You know, he'll have what, 20 minutes practice in this car, but I'm so eager to see how he does in the 41 because I've been hoping somebody would pick him up from another team for a couple of years just
Well,
because if
I
he
think
can
the
do
best
that
thing,
in his own stuff, what can he
yeah,
do in bigger,
and better
better?
better supported car. Well, so with that, Ryan, so first, at the end of the race, Sam calls Jeb Burton a jackass, whether you like it or not. Has like multiple shitty interviews, which is fine. I want that personality. But with NASCAR's new suspension policy and everything, like he not only came out, used a bunch of language, everything, he also came out and said, "Yeah, I did that shit." So like at after and on Twitter later when he was like on to Phoenix, everybody and their mom was like, "Nah, bro, you're going home. Your vacation's starting now." So I don't know why he thought for 1 second he was going to be racing next week. We already saw it this year when Austin Hill missed the playoff, the cut with 21 points because of his suspension and forfeited all his points. Like NASCAR's serious, and they have to be. There was no other option they had available to him. The other podcasts have already said it, but I mean, I knew immediately that he was getting suspended because like they said on all the other ones, what are you going to do? You going to take points? Don't matter. He's not in the running for the for the championship. You going to take money? Again, doesn't matter.
Nope.
And then
Yeah,
so the only alternative is to park him. And his actions were very similar to Matt Kenseth wrecking Joey Logano. The difference was Matt Kenseth did it under green after he had already been, taken out in a prior accident and ran it and continued to run him down and like just barrel into him. But I
yeah.
mean, Sam drove him straight up into the wall, drove into him, right hooked him, driver
And
side.
we know whether it's right or wrong, it's wrong, by the way, that some of these drivers, the moment that they go underneath the checkered flag, they're loosening belts. They're
Yep. And that's the other thing,
maybe bringing the window nut down, whatever, that, they shouldn't be, but they do. So who knows if Jeb, was reaching for something or whatever. Like, you cannot do that shit. It's
Yep.
not only is it stupid, it's just so dangerous. And
Exactly.
he right hooked him. It's an automatic suspension. He should have known that. And
Mhm.
he
Yep, you're right.
it,
It's a
it
safety thing. It's a they've already declared it for multiple reasons why it's a no-no, and they've
to
already set the precedent with
to go along with it though, Junior Motorsports didn't re-up him for a reason.
yep,
The fact that, teams need to look at this. Junior Motorsports, he won what, 4 or 5 races there? I mean, he was a winner for him, but they didn't re-up it for him. So why is that? Well, I mean, his attitude's fucking terrible.
yep. He
So
doesn't fit. Junior Motorsports. Don't get me wrong. Junior Motorsports isn't Penske, but they are They're like a hybrid of Penske and Hendrick in terms of what Dale expects from his guys. I want you to race hard, but I want you to race fair. And I expect you, he treats his place like a stepping stone. It's not, I'm just here to race to Xfinity. My job is to build crew, driver, people within all facets of a race
And
organization to be ready for the next level. And if you're
it's
not
kind
buying into that, then he'll send you on your way. And we've seen it
of
before.
like the host of our effect. Don't
Yeah.
tear up my shit. And that's what he does. He runs great, but he tears up shit. And no, I I'm probably gonna be wrong on this, but I see him losing his ride. I know he's re-up through next year. I think he's gonna lose his ride.
Well, you know, don't get me wrong. Truex had a ride too till sponsors left when the whole Napa MWR gate thing happened. Now, Spingate happened. Totally different situation, but it just goes to the point that nobody is
I'm
safe.
sure Audio Bell doesn't want to be linked to that shit.
Right. When sponsors see that you're a sore loser, that you're a dirty driver, there are very few that want to be associated with that. You can look at the where when Kyle Busch got sat down and parked by M&M's, and NASCAR
Right?
both, like they made him come to Jesus after he wrecked Ron Hornaday, under caution.
Joe
Um,
Gibbs had to get on
so,
his knees and plead to Eminem's to
yep.
stay.
So there's plenty of examples of where at the end of the day, especially the Xfinity series, where the top rides are a buy your ride in more cases than not. If you piss off the sponsors and they start leaving, I don't care. Not I don't care. The owners don't care how good you are at that point. If I've got a race out of my pocket, and Dale Jr. runs his race operation very much like like he's running a grocery store. He works for minimal loss.
That is
He run,
perfect.
Dale runs his business like it's his own personal startup, and if the money coming in doesn't cover it, he's not coming out of pocket to do it. There's a reason why Carson Quaffle will not be in a full-time ride next year, and he absolutely should be. But Dale's not going to self-fund
Just
that, and he
imagine
didn't
if
do it for Josh Berry, and he didn't do it for Shane Huffman, and for any of those other guys that raced for him at the time. So he expects you to work with him to cultivate partnerships and stuff. So to your point, you know, there are several drivers that have come through there that are not there for that very reason. He doesn't allow them to come in there and do what Ty Gibbs did to Brandon Jones. You're not going to come in here and disrespect the other drivers in this house and tear our stuff up. So,
imagine if Carson Quaffle somehow ekes out and wins championship this weekend with no wins.
yep. If he finishes second and everybody else is third, fourth, fifth, and somebody else wins the race, like,
It,
so, yeah,
I mean, he's been great all year. Not great. He's been good all year. He's good
mhm,
enough to get to the final four, obviously. But imagine he's got a part-time ride next year and he wins a championship this year.
yeah.
Like, does that
I think
change
that
sponsorship for
definitely would
next year?
change some stuff for sure. I think you would see Bass
I
Pro.
don't know if it is for sure because, like, for
Well,
instance, last
you're
year,
right. I'm not going to say for sure, but maybe he ends up in a different car. Maybe he ends
maybe
up in a different organization. Like, I know that Dale Jr. is very big on, based from his own words, if you have a better opportunity, I'm not going to hold you up from doing it, you know, because he's putting together that part-time car for next year. So, like, Sam's getting sat down for the weekend. I would make Sam if I was Gene Haas, assuming I'm not firing him. I would make him come sit on the pit box. I would make him mount tires. I would teach his ass a lesson. You tore up my race car. He'd be in the race shop this week, helping work on race cars, sweeping shop floors, whatever. If you don't do it, then you're fired. I'm going to give
yeah.
you a list, and you're going to prove to me that you want to be here. And then I'm going to make you come to the race that weekend, make you do the most painful thing that any driver says is possible. Watch you sit there and watch somebody else get in your race car, run your stuff, and when the race is over and they get out, you're going to go shake their hand and tell them thank you. And, because they don't have to get in there and run that car for those sponsors. They don't have to, it could sit empty and hurt the team even worse. So,
hmm
who's going to run Ryan Sieg's car? I'm assuming he'll get a fill in as well.
Ryan Sieg's
Back
running the 41. Kyle Sieg is coming out of the 28 to run the 39. So now they got to find somebody to drive the 28.
Right. So it's just like the pit crew
The
thing. I don't know
28's
if
an
you remember.
underfunded car, so they're just gonna Probably toss like a JJ Yealy in there or some shit like that.
Right, but all I'm making the point is that it rolls. It's all a
Rolls
downhill thing.
downhill. Yeah.
Like they picked the best driver they could in a Ford that does well. Ryan, like I said, I would love to see Ryan Sieg based off his performance. You know, he goes out there, he gets the most out of it. He doesn't tear it up. Um, yeah, so I I thought it was hilarious that he thought he was going to race at all next week. I was like, I don't know what world you think you're living in under under NASCAR's old rules. Prior to this year and toward the end of last year, you might would have gotten away with that with a money fine and some harsh criticism and points, but that world is over now. So, and I don't see it
So
ever coming back the other way. But
uh,
to the
kind of to go
racing
back.
itself, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. The with if Travis Quaffle wins the championship, it kind of transfers back to like Todd Majeski when he won the championship last year. He didn't have a ride for this year. They re-upped with him, but he wasn't supposed to be driving for him again.
And he could easily
So
go into the trucks this weekend and win it yet again.
yeah,
That's the
so
crazy part.
yeah, and we all know how great he is on flat tracks.
Yeah,
So
so
you know,
you've got Heim, Honeycutt, Majeski, and Ankrum, and Majeski is really, really good there. Uh,
and out of those four, there are 12 wins.
yep, and 11 of them belong to Heim. So if anybody other than Heim wins, it's a disappointment.
Chris
And
brought that up to me. I was like, oh my gosh.
yep, in terms of the Xfinity Four, the group we're talking about now, you got Zilich with his pile of wins, Carson Quaffle, no wins this year, Allgaier with his limited wins, Jesse Love with his. So like anybody other than Zilich or Heim, all it does is further the point that the fans have made and personnel within the sport that this winner take all is it. I don't even think it's the worst format option out there. The problem is the way in which you get there. We very seldom often end up with the best four drivers in any of the three series going for it. We have too much opportunity for one thing to go wrong that is completely outside of your team's control. We're not talking a
I
bad
think
pit
the
stop
only
or a
year
tire
we
burn.
had, I think the only year we had the right four, like off the top of my head, was the 2021.
Yeah. Larson, Brad, Logano, and
No, it was Larson, Chase,
yep.
uh, Hamlin, and Truex.
Okay. Yep. I'm thinking 2020 with
Yeah,
Chase's year, but yeah.
yeah. Chase's
This
year was
year,
Chase, Brad, Logano, and I believe it was Denny as well. I can't remember though.
but so I will say Carson Quaffle's, I know you said you didn't get to watch it. Carson Quaffle's drive back through the field after getting spun. At one point, Junior Motorsports had all four spots secured. And
Did
as
they
long
really?
they did in the last stage, at one point, Junior Motorsports was going to have all four cars. Allgaier and Zilich had already advanced.
Same thing.
And then you had Sammy Smith was coming up through, and Carson Quaffle was further ahead. And so Brandon Jones was trying to work his way up, and Jesse Love was like back by 14 out. And through a series of restarts, Carson Quaffle got spun out, ended up toward the back of the field, while Jesse Love had worked his way forward. So now Carson's down, and Brandon Jones had come forward. Like it was compelling to watch. And I'll say that watching Carson come through there to get back his spot, he didn't run over people. He would bump them if they held him up too long, but he didn't just flat out shove them way out in the groove and try and wreck them. Um, he did a really good job. His car wasn't destroyed when he got there. He still managed to make up all those spots and end up plus, I believe it was seven, either seven or eight. Like just like how Larson ended up over Bell. Like he did what he was supposed to do without making a bunch of enemies.
Right.
And so that was impressive. Um, the way that Gray worked over Almirola was good because several times Gray tried to move Almirola out of the way, and he'd bump him, door him, all kinds of stuff. and Almirola wasn't having it. I thought that was good that that he taught him a lesson in turn without wrecking him or anything. That like if you want to beat me, you're gonna have to do it straight up. I'm not gonna give you this position just because you deserve to win and you think you're faster. You're gonna have to earn it because the further up you go, the harder it's gonna be. If I give it to you, you didn't learn anything.
Right.
And even though Brandon Jones needed that spot to get a JGR car in there, neither one of them who were directly in front of him ever gave up the spot to let him through. So I thought that was good. You could definitely see that they listened to NASCAR this weekend, at least at that level. There was no shenanigans of any type because they were watching it like a hawk.
I was about to bring up
Yep,
the
go
truck
ahead.
series. They talked about it on the teardown about how uh, Chandler Smith. True. Did you hear about this?
No, I don't think I did.
So during the truck race, it was near. I think it was near late restart or something like that. And the crew said, "Hey, take a look at the infield when you get a chance." He's like, "What?" Just look at the infield. It's talking about the TV in the infield.
Mhm.
Well, basically, they were showing him that Lane Riggs was right behind him. Lane Riggs is his teammate who needs to get in.
Yep,
I
and he
think he
did.
had to win or he had to get like so many points. So Chandler then says, "Oh, I get it. I get what you're putting down." And on the ensuing lane choice, he gives Lane the better lane because
Yep,
he's ahead of him, and he goes high to get let Lane get the low. So like I am shocked. We're sitting here Wednesday night filming this that they didn't do something to the I don't remember what number Chandler Smith's team is, but they didn't do 38. I think they didn't do anything to the
yeah,
38 team in trucks. That's
yeah. They
crazy to
didn't.
me.
Yep.
I guess because they didn't make it, what's the point in doing anything? But the fact that they tried
Well, that again goes
is
back to the same penalty, the issue I have with at the Roval.
yep.
If you commit a crime but you don't succeed, like you broke in, entered, you tried to rob a place, you got busted walking out the door with the TV, so you failed in your crime. Or you broke the TV and had to run and left with nothing. Guess what? You still committed a crime. Or if you fail to break in the door, you started, so you're still guilty. So, but
So yeah,
NASCAR
that's
interpretation.
interesting that they did not do anything to him.
Well, I'm not sure that well, they haven't said anything. Yeah, they did say anything, so obviously they're not going to. But I think they had a bigger shit show on their hands with Sam Smith, so he may have bailed them out. They're like, nothing really happened there. We got a bigger problem to go worry about
Yeah,
now.
with
So,
Sammy Mayer.
or Sammy Mayer, yeah. So then on to back to the Cup race. So, the first two stages were, interesting in that, at the beginning, Logano qualified well, but he didn't have speed in practice. He qualified up there, but he didn't, he wasn't able
But
to stay
man, he was
there.
scaring me there for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, I
There,
agree. It was scaring me when he
he was
was up
coming
there.
on, and he just fell like a rock.
Yeah. I was waiting for that moment, that big ball Paul moment where he was going to put them in position and we're gonna be like, here we go again. But everybody's mentality of it's not an even year, so we'll see what happens next year, 2026. The 22 team, we'll see.
Well, there's
But
not. Well, I honestly think with how the social media world is going, all the voting that I see with polls and everything, I showed you all in the unfiltered chat earlier today. Landon Castle put up, I think it was Landon, or no, Anthony Alfredo. 60,000 people, I believe, voted on this poll. What format do you want? Do you want a 10 race chase? Do you want uh 334 or do you want full season? 60% of the 60,000 people want full season.
yep,
And I believe the second was the chase.
yeah,
And I asked my fiance, I said, "What would you want?" Because she never got to see the chase.
yeah,
And she said, "Honestly, that sounds appealing to me, the chase." She's like, "I would like that personally, but and I would still be fine with the chase. I honestly do not want 334 because you can still have bullshit shenanigans."
yep. If you're concerned about people being like, oh, look what who's where, You letting somebody lead a lap no longer matters anymore. Letting somebody buy doesn't really matter anymore. Like that was the stuff that happened under the 36 race point deal, where if
Yep.
we're keeping stage points, but getting rid of all the elimination stuff, I think any of the negatives that you could talk about with the 36 race season go away for the most part. And there are going to be, just like this year, like there's flaws in every system. There's no perfect system, but I still believe that if the system you had for 50 plus years was good enough, you need to go back to that. You
Yep.
could have evolved that system and enhanced it without having to make such a point of demarcation from it where, you know, as Harvick said during his thing, he's like, we've tried the chase, we've tried the eliminations. He's like, TV ratings didn't get better, fan attendance didn't get better, sponsorships have gone down, not up.
Yeah.
Sponsors have pulled out, big name sponsors, full
Yep.
season sponsors. Well, if they were all committed to it, and yes, the economy is different, people consume media differently, but there are several points that have been talked about this year. One of them being like, how do you build superstars every week if you can never build any momentum and show that this driver is truly superior to others? Like, if we were still under, and I get we would race differently, but for the most part, if we were still under the 36 point race season, Christopher Bell would be wrapping up his second back to back consecutive championship right now because he's
If
been,
you're doing it under the Winston Cup format.
yeah, yeah, under the 36 race season deal.
Yeah, but it was that's under Winston Cup points. If you do it
Right.
under the current points
Yep.
going into this weekend, Bell only has a 11-point lead over Larson. If
Yep.
you
No,
do
I
it
mean,
under the
either
chase
way, it's
format,
still very compelling all the way through. Like,
Larson has a 6-point lead over. It's something like that. It's both of them are within like 11 or 6 points, whether it's regular season or chase. And I know you're going to race differently. That's why
well,
Jordan Miyake's all it doesn't
well,
matter.
he
Well,
said that you would race differently, but I don't know that that's true because if you kept stage points and you just separated the elimination for a minute, for the most part, the way everybody races is still going to be the same. I'm still
yeah,
trying to gather maximum
yep.
points. The best way to do that is to get as many stage points as possible and then finish as best I can in the race, get the fastest
Yeah.
lap.
I
That's
believe it
everybody's
was,
goal every weekend, whether you have winning you're in or not, elimination or not. I still need to do that.
I believe it was Larson was talking to Bob Pockers this past weekend. Bob said, "Are you going to go for the win or the points?" And Larson said, "Bob, I raced to win. Like
Yep.
the weekend doesn't matter. He's racing to win. That's every driver. They're racing to win." Now, I
And
will say that
also,
once
they
the
don't hand
race
out a
started at
trophy.
Martinsville, he
Yeah.
saw where Bell was, and he kind of played. He was not going for the win Sunday.
No, no, he
He
wasn't.
played it safe. There was no, and I've watched Larson enough. There was no push. He was playing it safe, restarts everywhere. He did not. If you look at that car compared to any other car out there, it was the cleanest car on the track.
Yep. When with the years that he's run there hard to win and won or been in contention to win and needed it or needed to finish a certain spot and had to be like in that top two or three and had to fight and claw for it, that thing's beat to shit.
Yep.
And it has marks all
There
over it.
wasn't even hardly tire rubber on the side. That's what I'm saying. Like if you look
Um,
at any other car, there was tire rubber all the way on the side and the door number. That car didn't even have tire rubber down the door number. So it tells you they weren't pushing. It makes you wonder if they were pushing.
yeah.
He he might
I
have
mean, I
had
thought Chase
Byron
was
speed or
through.
better.
Yep. Like at one point, I thought Chase was going to be the one that was going to advance, not Byron, because Chase would drop back due to poor pit stops, and he would come blazing back up through there.
Yeah.
And I really thought he was going to be the second HMS teammate in there. But back to the points conversation and the format for a second, so that poll said 60% want the 36 race format. I
That's
don't think there's
easy
anything
enough
wrong
already.
with the 36 race format to begin with, but if you wanted to spice it up, I think you could have done it without, what we've had for the last 25 years, which was or 21 years. Now it'll be 22. We started in 2004 with the chase first. Then they tried to gimmick the shit out of the chase to beat Jimmy Johnson, and him and Chad, the prior big ball Paul, found a way to win it all. 50% of the time. I don't think that's a bad thing though. I think that's what made JJ into the superstar that he is. It made Tony's win super impressive. It made Brad's win where he went in there and took it super impressive. It made Kurt Busch's win the first year of the thing. Like every one of those years was compelling in a way. When Jimmy or
Yeah.
beat Mark Martin and Mark Martin in 50 plus years of age, won 5 races, contended for a title, showed you that one, just what a genuine all around badass wheelman that man is. That a 50-year-old where in a sport where everybody is expecting the next 20 something to be the next Jeff Gordon. Here's this guy that's been doing it since he was Mark the Kid Martin coming up from ASA all the way through. And he hung toe to toe with Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. and Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards. And he didn't just like scrape by, like he was a genuine threat. And, you see all the comers that came to it. I've said on here before that I didn't, I wasn't a big fan of the chase, but the chase wasn't broken either. The chase was just fine. The problem with the chase has always been the schedule. And by doing what we've done now, where we have this much more robust and dynamic schedule for better or worse, more road courses and everything like that, you've solved your any single team dominance problem where you could kind of like Penske's done with the playoff format. If I just focus on 3 races, I can win this whole thing. It doesn't matter how good I am. That's the problem with the current playoffs is I only need to win 3 races. The last one, the first round or the last round elimination race at the beginning to give myself a setup ahead, and really the second to last round because that's usually where all the chaos is. The first round you can just survive. The second round you can almost just survive. It's the third, and so I'm just glad it's going to go away because I think either of the other two, the chase and the original format, are far superior, especially with what we have now. We've gone back to the fact we've gone back to some type of lap based award with the fastest lap, and we have the chase points now. So you have something to race for all race long, like we used to have with the Gatorade, fat halfway leader, lap leader, and all that stuff. So
So I have a question for you.
yeah,
I think we're both team 36, yeah?
I am. I'm team 36. I'll
My
settle for
my
the chase, but I'm team 36 all day.
my question to you is what do you think that NASCAR will inevitably end up doing? What do you wholeheartedly think that they will pick?
I I as much as I think there's been a major shift in the direction of going to 36, I still think we're going back to the 10 race chase because the 10 race chase gives you enough of the playoff check boxes that a lot of sponsors have now come in and said I want, that are tied to these teams and that are part of their, end of year activation. So I do think you have to consider that. There's still a business model there to consider. And I think that gives them something to market around towards the end of the year. But it's not just another race. But I'm in agreement with we don't have playoffs. We've never had playoffs. We have tried, but we're not stick and ball sports. It's never been one on one. It's always 1 versus 36, 1 versus 30, 1 versus whatever.
Yeah.
So you can never have a true uno to uno matchup because there's too many other factors. So I think we're probably going to end up with the chase again. I don't know what they'll call it because the chase was, affiliated with Sprint Nextel, it's the sprint to the cup, the chase for the cup. It was fantastic marketing. Never ever should have gotten rid of it. From a marketing standpoint, like it was perfect. That was a bad marketing decision. I'm assuming if I asked NASCAR and they were honest, they'd probably blame Brian France for that. That's why you're not allowed to talk about
The,
past decisions. But
I think, and I hope I'm wrong, obviously. I'm with you. I would be okay with the chase as well. I'm wanting 36. I'd be okay with the chase. I think they're going to go with 3-3-4 for one reason and one reason only. I think the 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 family is addicted to the playoff format, but not only that, they made this schedule with
Yeah,
with Homestead being the championship race. It still is championship race no matter which way you put it, but with a 3-3-4 format, it is more than likely definitely still gonna feel like a championship. Do you see what I'm saying? Like that,
I
there's
do.
more of a chance of it
There
being
would
a
definitely be
true.
more emphasis on it, but
Yeah,
so I mentioned a minute ago all the chase era races that I won. Nobody ever went in there in that entire 10-year span and had it locked up, ever. Every year Jimmy won it, he still had to go in there and run decent that day, which everybody says that's mailing in. It's hard. It's really fucking hard now with this
all
car
but one,
to
all but one
run.
year.
Yeah. The first year, if Kurt Busch doesn't make that pit road thing, Gordon or Johnson wins that championship, not
Yeah,
him. So and it came down all the way to that in the first year. It about killed Mark Martin and Rusty Wallace to get into the first chase. Jeremy Mayfield wins his win in Richmond. Like it was super compelling. Um, and then you have the
and
series,
and
Dale Jr.
if
loses it
they do
because of
it, they need to do it that with points, not when you're in nonsense, and they need to lower it down.
I agree.
16 is too many.
I agree. So if we go with the chase, I think they need to dial it back from 16 to I would say
12.
12. I'd say 12. Yep, I feel comfortable with 12. No winning you're in. It's the best top 12 in points. And in order to give you an opportunity of basically like a buy, if you're like, think of it like the NFL, where you still have some of that NFL or MLB or type feeling, I would still spot you either a number of points per win that gives you some type of safety net, but not one where you
Well,
can buy your way all the way to the end.
they did that with the chase originally. Highest in points had,
Mhm.
you started, I don't remember the exact number, but let's just throw it out there. It was like 1,080, 1,075, 1,006, go on,
Yep,
so on
respect.
and so forth. So,
Um, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, if we're gonna have the chase, everybody should start at the same number. When you all qualified, you were the top 12 in points. You get a
well, just like you said, you, when, and I know we're trying to get
you have
away
10
from this, but
races. The only reason why I'm okay with resetting it back to flat is because you have a 10 race body of work. And we've seen it overcome. Tony Stewart tied, went in there, horrible season, won the championship, won half the races. Gordon and Johnson went toe to toe the whole way through. Johnson and Mark Martin went toe to toe the whole way through. Denny had it won till he choked at Phoenix. And then the start of the Homestead race, he blew the opportunity. He got in his own head and wrecked his damn car. And then Brad went out there and took it. Like I can think of every one of those. There's not a single one of those to me that wasn't a compelling win, no matter who won it, where they didn't have to go out there and earn it to me. I can look at the 12 champions, other than who's going to be this weekend. We'll see. I can look at the 12 winner take all champions and I can find a flaw with damn near every one of them and be like, they were not the best car on that year. Chase Elliott, the year he won,
I I can
Kevin
only
Harvick
think
was
of
the best car.
two drivers that probably two that I can think of with winner take all that deserve the championship.
Harvick deserved it the first year. He was by far
All
and
right,
away the
three,
best car.
three.
Blaney.
Harvick, Harvick, Truex, and Larson.
Okay, yeah. I would maybe throw Blaney in there with because they won
You,
a bunch in there, but they didn't deserve to be there.
no,
Um, Larson for sure with his 10 wins, the six going into it, and then the four in the playoffs.
it was
And he should
five
have
and
won
five.
way or 5-5. He should have won way more than that, but he was by
Yep,
far and away laps led, top fives, poles,
yep.
everything. The year Chase won it, Kevin Harvick had the most wins, most laps led, most poles. Him and Denny Hamlin went back and forth
Him
there
and
with
Denny.
each other.
It should have been him or Denny, one of those that
Yep.
year, and neither one of them won.
And I've got respect for a lot of, I've enjoyed watching a lot of these, but I mean, it's very easy to pick apart flaws in the playoff format era.
Yep.
And, everybody plays the rules that are dealt, no question. But we can definitely see that there are a lot of the best car not winning. And they try to often say, well, that's sports. That's the That's how it happens in the NCAA. The best team doesn't always win or whatever, but there's shenanigans played in there. You get buys in the NFL, elimination. You have kind of shenanigans in the March Madness deal. Like all of them have some type of shenanigans, and we need to get back to what brings the integrity back. You should be able to stand proudly when you're holding that championship trophy. Like I know in Joe Logano's head, because the way he talks about it, he thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread, his moniker, with his three championships. 2018, he wasn't the best driver, but he did go up there and take it. I mean, he raced his ass off at Homestead in Martinsville. 20,
Big three
so
meet.
yep, 2018 he won it. 2022 he won it. In 2024 he won it. 2022 is probably the only one he really, really deserved. And that was, 24. No, he definitely wasn't the best one. He got in on a technicality with Bowman getting disqualified last year. That doesn't happen. He's not in. Now
Yep.
we gave him all his props because we said at the time, if they let him in, it's game over. That's going to be his race. And it was him and his teammate, and again, like I said this weekend, I thought it was him and Blaney. I was like, here we go again. So,
So
yeah,
I want to kind of backtrack just a smidge. I want
yeah,
to go. We didn't get to do a Talladega show,
that's true.
and I want to talk about how different this weekend could have looked as far as a point situation.
Oh, yeah.
If Cliff Daniels puts more gas in that 5 car,
Yep.
there is no tension on the bubble line as far as uh, Christopher Bell and Larson.
Or
Because
Byron at that
Larson
point.
lost. Larson, well, Byron would have still gotten in, but I'm talking about on who would have fallen out. We would have known it'd be Christopher Bell no matter what, all race. Larson lost 25 spots
Mhm.
on that last lap at Talladega because he ran out of gas.
Yep. And
So, so if
that's,
that doesn't happen,
yeah.
we're we're kind of watching a boring race when it comes to between Larson and Bell because you see what I'm saying?
Yep. Honestly, if Larson had run out of gas, it's still two JGR versus two HMS more than likely, but instead it's still Larson and Byron, but it's Denny and Bell for sure because Bell would have had no problem then advancing up. He was more than capable above the
Well, we
other
don't
people.
know. We don't know who would have won the race, but it would not have been. It
It
wouldn't
would
have
not have
been
been Briscoe.
Briscoe
That's just it.
because the only reason he got to the lead was because that inside lane disappeared.
Right, the gap opened. If the gap
Yeah,
doesn't open, he doesn't win it. More than likely, Larson or Byron win that race. At which point,
Larson or Bubba.
well, Larson or Bubba, sorry. And then in the event something happens, Byron, with his luck, probably would sneak through. But either
Yeah.
way, Byron was going to be safe. Larson was going to be more than safe. Bell would have been very comfortable going in, and it's a totally different picture. So,
Yep. I just wanted to talk about that one bit from
yeah,
Talladega because that was really the only thing to talk about from that race. Is
yeah. Otherwise, it was to me like you and I talked about it
I mean,
briefly.
Chase Elliott's bad luck, but other than that, you know,
Yeah, there wasn't very much to it. The one thing I'll say, when you look at this final round here going into the winner take all race, Byron had a car that could have won every single one of those races, and so did Chase, and so did Larson. Like all three of them, they had fast cars at Vegas. They had fast cars at Dega, and were in positions. Had strategy not played out differently, and they all three were in contention to win this weekend. Right, and
and I'm
depending on how those situations play out differently, Ty Dillon doesn't take out, with his bad braking and no signaling, doesn't take out Byron. Larson wins Vegas going away. Byron
I'm trying
finishes.
not to get too pumped about this. Next fact I'm telling you. So on the teardown, Jordan Bianchi talked about how Cliff Daniels told him that they have been working on their Phoenix car for 6 weeks. Last year they worked on it for 2.
Well, the fact that
So that makes me super hyped that they've been working that long on that car because he is a perfectionist of perfectionists. And if they've been doing that, plus putting Larson in the simulator, which
yep,
Larson admittedly doesn't like doing,
yep,
that I think that's a potent
I think we're gonna
field.
hell. This is gonna be the first time that I feel like all four cars are gonna be very, very tight, and it's not gonna be.
With
They're
the
you're not
next
gonna
gen.
see that Penske advantage.
Yeah.
Denny's had 3 weeks since he won at Vegas. You've got Larson, like they said, they've been prepping, but more importantly, Larson and Byron. When you go back and we rewind to the end of summer, Iowa, Gateway, New Hampshire, Richmond, and now Martinsville. HMS has fixed their short track program. It may have been at
Yep.
a detriment per Jeff Gordon to their other stuff, but they are ready to go.
And
So
I know this is kind of a sidebar, but I am so curious to what the internal issues were that Cliff Daniels brought up but didn't talk about.
I feel
He
it
said
has to be,
over the summer we
yeah,
had some internal issues and we've dealt with them, but what were they?
I feel like it's
Like,
leaning one of two directions, either personnel issues at home, like just some team cohesion, which may also be involved around like the double, like this is 2 years in a row where, you're taking away your focus and these guys are there to win and, for better or worse. I mean, you look at the slump they had over the summer after their like you feel like there has to be some correlation. Now they're obviously back because they could have won any of the last three races. They have a very good chance to win this weekend. They've had a lot of great short track speed. Um, you know, I'm I'm very pumped and positive that HMS is more than likely going to come out of there with the championship. That being said, I think this is definitely Denny's best chance since 2011. Yeah, when he no 10 when he messed up at Phoenix and then qualified badly and then overcorrected and wrecked on the back end of Homestead. Like this is definitely his best shot that I think he's ever had. Not only does he
yep,
not have
I
to worry
agree.
about nobody, not just him, nobody has to worry about Penske dominating. Even if they win the race, that's not their problem because they're not racing them for the big prize. And these four are all very close together. My only regret is that there's not five spots because Christopher Bell of the all the cars this year, the right four are in there minus one. Christopher Bell deserves to be there. He's had the
Yeah,
most points
there
scored of
was
anybody
the,
in the
the best.
playoffs.
They were the best five cars all year for
Yep.
sure.
They've
You could
the most wins, the most top
and
fives, the
and I
fastest.
I just want to pat my own back here. Nobody believed in Chase Briscoe this year but me at the start of the year.
I
Y'all
mean,
gave him no wins. I gave him two. He got three. I just want to thank the
he
Academy for.
here's your reward. He definitely surprised me. It wasn't a lack of belief in him. It was more of you're coming from such a disjointed organization in the way the SHR folded to a totally different process in the way JGR operates. I just expected it to take more time for them to find the right chemistry. I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad to see him get up there and prove that he's every bit as good as he showed when he beat Kyle Busch heads up in an Xfinity car when he won Darlington twice now. Like he's proven that he's every bit as good as he looks.
Yep.
That deal. The only thing he needs to do is shave that fucking head. I don't know
Yeah.
what he's
Or
doing.
does he have three or four wins? Wait a minute.
He's got three.
He didn't win Gateway, did he? I keep thinking
Uh,
he didn't he
yeah,
win Gateway,
dating and
but he
gateway.
almost won. He
He
almost won
did.
Gateway.
So yeah, it should be a hell of a race this weekend for the final winner take all. And oddly enough, other
Who
than
do you have?
mention, there's it's a fitting way to end it. I'll say that. At least
Yeah.
it's going to go out on a high note. I don't ever want to see it again because we've had 12 years and we've only had really three good ones. So
Yeah.
hope they never retreat back. But
I will say, for the most part, when it comes to winner take all, most of the time, with the exception of the last year Jimmy won it, if you remember the last year Jimmy won it, the four were all over the top 15. Like they weren't all over the top six. They were all over the top 15. Like they weren't anywhere close together.
no,
Like
there's usually one or two that are off, and
yeah,
then two
and
that are cheating and
but
struggling to.
man, the 2020 you had the four were all together. 20, when it comes to Phoenix. they they've been tight every year
Mhm.
they've been there. They top 4 to 6, like there they are.
Yeah.
So I will give it that the cream rises to the top on the last race of the year. Now, are the other teams going okay, have that spot, or
Well,
is that just them prepared?
I will
But
say, in my opinion, when you look at though the ones where that's happened, Phoenix is also that only started with the new car for the most part. We had very few instances of the old car where if we had just stayed with the old car, we were going in a really good direction anyway. But with the new car being leveling the field, now if we go back to Miami as the finale, if we go to Vegas as a finale, the mile and a halfs, they're all still on top of each other anyway. They're not,
yeah,
no matter what, they're going to be right there.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
So we talked
So who
race.
do you have for this weekend before
So
we switch?
it's honestly really tough.
It is. I mean, obviously, I want to go with Larson. A small part of me thinks Hamlin because of the 3 race head
Yeah,
start,
that's
but with knowing that Cliff has been working on the car for 6 weeks, that gives me optimism. Um, Larson, but shading Hamlin, if that makes any sense at all.
yeah. Hamlin is my sentimental pick, but based off
Yeah,
of mechanical failures they've had the last two races, the
yeah.
pit
Like,
crew
what's up with
failures
that?
they've had, or the pit crew mistakes, I have a hard time thinking that the 11 team will get it done. I have no doubt Hamlin's going to be ready. I question whether or not the car is going to be mechanically sound, especially if valve springs were the issue you just had and you're working on sealed engines. I really hope that that's not how the JGR loses this race, that it's more competitive and it's not a part failure like the 2 years it's been for Bell with brakes and other stuff. Like I hate to see you lose your opportunity that way. Um,
Regardless of what happens, and Chris will kill me, but I think he'll agree. Denny is now the best driver that's never won a championship,
oh, hands
no
down.
doubt, hands
Yep.
down. I hate to take it from Mark, but he is, and if he doesn't win this weekend, he forever will be.
Yeah, I don't. Well, we'll have to see what happens with the new format before I can say whether or not he'll have any more opportunities to win a championship in the next 2 years based off of whatever format we come with. If we,
I think if he doesn't, it'll deflate him. That's why I
yeah,
say it the way I
honestly,
say it.
yeah. So Hamlin's my sentimental. As much as I want to pick Larson and Cliff and what I think they can do, Byron is just such a lucky son of a bitch. I just feel like he's gonna undeservedly capitalize on a moment that they won't have been the best of the two, but he's going to be in a position to put Larson at a deficit or something, and he's going to take it. And it's going to what I think will happen from that will be in 2026. Larson's going to be completely done being the good teammate at that point because he's said it already. Like he's been told
Yeah,
you need to be a better teammate, and then his teammates take and don't give, and then he's like, "What the hell am I? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself at a disadvantage?"
yeah. Our buddy Kevin Kruger, after Talladega, he messaged me and he said Larson's a terrible teammate, and I was like,
Yeah,
speak for yourself. And he said, he kept dumping Byron. I said, dude, think about it. Byron's won plate races. He's won Daytona 500 2 years in a row. He's won Daytona 3 times.
and he wasn't the best car in any of those.
And, and I said, Larson has never won at a drafting track. Heaven forbid he tries to go for a win to lock himself in
Hmm.
and to get that drafting track, boogeyman off his shoulders. Heaven forbid
Yep.
he goes for a win for himself. And you know what? Couldn't hear a drop after that. No pin drop. He just, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, I'm trying to say you could hear a pin drop
Oh
because he
yeah.
didn't say a word after that.
Yeah. There's no
Heaven
rebuttal.
forbid he tries to go for a win on
So
himself. Oh
now it wouldn't surprise me to see the Cinderella story complete itself for Chase Briscoe. Goes from
yeah,
a failing team to the glass slipper started off the year not so good while he's learning the JGR system. By midsummer, he's right where he needs to be. And, you know, he and James Small kind of remind me of Harvick and Childers. Like they're just kind of, they're really good, chemistry, and they have been very fast ever since then. And I think it'll take a while to kind of, I'm not gonna say slow him down, but before that stabilizes to where they're not like lightning fast. Like, I mean, they had a ridiculous number of poles this year in the second half of the year.
They
I
had
mean,
like what,
and,
6 in a row or in
yep.
like 8 front row starts in a row.
If you didn't know any better,
Insane.
it reminded you of Truex's dominance in that car with Pern. Leading lots of laps, being up
And
front.
it made you wonder if Ryan Newman had a blood transfusion with him or something.
Yeah.
The Rocket Man.
Yep. Yep. The Rocket Man. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Byron, even though that's not what I want to see. I'm glad at least he's running the Exalta car, not some ugly god awful car. If he's gonna win and it's gonna be the last winner take all on my shelf, at least it'll be an Exalta Flames car. It won't be that god awful Liberty car or something else.
I hope your shelf is ugly because
Look, I
I
would be perfectly okay if I had to put another five right beside the 218s and the 322s and everything. And I would be just as happy putting an 11 as the bookmark at the bookend or the 19. For this year,
that
I'll say
would be a
that this year,
progressive look for you.
you know, um, as a diecast collector, I know you're trying to put the hibby jibby on me here, but this is the first round of four in a while where I'm like, all right, I'm okay with all those car colors. They're not all some god awful yellow, which
Yeah.
doesn't come out in the best special finishes. They're not, blindingly hurting the eyes. Every one of them's a good looking paint scheme. I do hope that if Larson wins it, that we can retire this fucking five scheme and get us a new
God
scheme.
bless.
If he wins the second one, and that, so back to, I support the reason why I think Larson would win it. Of the guys that are there, and every one of them other than Briscoe has had this opportunity, Larson knows what it's like to go through the weekend and win it. And experience does count for something. Harvick said it when he did the first year, having Jimmy Johnson come in there, work him through a weekend with Jimmy knowing how to win these things. What can I do to help you? Take the stress off, get you in the right mental focus. Well, Larson's been through this now. He knows how. Denny has gone and failed several times. And regardless of whether Denny says I thrive in chaos or not, Denny still has that record of choking. So even though he's going to be in there loaded for bear, I could see it happening again, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So um, that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. I'm not good with it, but I'm good with it.
Okay. So moving on to the last topic I think we have is so NASCAR and the lawsuit. So the judge, the first part, the most important part here. So earlier last week, NASCAR went into mediation. They almost had a deal
Took
until
2 days.
on to after 2 days, they almost had a deal because we're getting ready to. It's about to be showtime, and NASCAR
A
knows
month
like it's
away.
about to get real. Like so, but then it came down to who's going to pay the over $100 million in legal costs. Well, the loser usually pays, and NASCAR is going to be the loser because Judge Bell just threw out their countersuit claim, like that they acted in a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy for the team owners to act as a what's that? Like all the other teams in every other major league sport, all the franchises work together with collective bargaining, which is what he pointed out. They should have collective bargaining rights to represent what's best for them as a group, as all the teams, since they all have to sign the same agreement. They're not all getting different agreements. Since it's a unified agreement, they all should be able to communicate together and do that. So when that got thrown out, NASCAR
I'm sorry.
basically
I
go
just
ahead.
looked at, remember I asked Chip if he was going to join us for this one?
Mhm.
Did you see what he said? I'm going to sit this one out. I got signs to make for the trial.
Yeah, yeah. So our buddy Chip wants to make signs and shirts, and I do too. Like I'm ready to watch them burn the fucking house down. We've said nobody wins in this deal, even if the teams win, even if NASCAR wins. Like there's no man, this was like the best possible outcome. But with NASCAR getting their countersuit tossed out, now it's time for NASCAR to bargain because if they don't, We saw it with the today's revelations. NASCAR made $100 million in profits last year. What
Just
did
last year.
Yep, just last year. We're not talking about, and that's not a full disclosure of all the revenue because there's ISC, their arm that owns the tracks, that all funnels up to NASCAR. There's IMSA, and that there's so much to it besides just this. And yet you've got the teams not able to hire the
So,
drivers they want because they can't afford to put the car on the track without all these pay to play drivers.
so
And that's
Chris was
because,
thinking it
oh,
would
go
be
ahead.
more than that. Sorry. Chris
No, no,
thought
no.
it would be more than that. He thought it would be closer to a billion. I was like, dude, I never thought it would be a billion. But I mean, maybe they're worth that, but I don't think that there's any chance that they can bring in $1 billion in 1 year with
Um,
all this, like with
well, hold on. You have to be,
setting up the street courses and all that other crap. I mean,
Well, I have to look at it. When I looked at those documents, those are profit and loss statements, tax filings, but it's not a complete picture. It's a small
okay,
sample size. If we get to the full umbrella of profit and loss, I think you see a much larger than $100 million in profit in a year. I think you see a lot more because of all
you
the
thinking 500?
I'm thinking closer to half a billion because you've got all the gambling revenue, the TV revenue off the Netflix deal, now that, and it'll be even more this year because we have a newer contract with higher money per season, more players. It's not necessarily better for the fans, but it's from NASCAR's pocketbook standpoint, the teams it's better in that way because you got Amazon, you got TNT, you got USA, you got NBC, Fox, FS1. You've got two new additional players in the space
Like
with
prime primary?
make Prime Primary, HBO Max. But then on top of it, NASCAR has invested, and so the first year they might show a loss of profit because they had to start this NASCAR production studios, but that's only going to go up going forward in generative profit because they now have their own in-house content production. And that allows them to control the NIL of the content being produced. That's going to generate much more revenue because now they're not outsourcing their content to a Fox to make the hub or a speed channel. Like they own the channel. And once I own the infrastructure and stuff, there's a startup cost, but that startup depreciates and then the profits rise
Yep.
because they're going to have all of that. Um, so I do think they make more than they're letting on there for sure, especially under the last deal and the way they've done some of it. Um, Last year's statement alone, it's hard to judge off of it, but I mean, still, $100 million isn't nothing when you consider what NASCAR does. And when it's just a sanctioning body and all you're doing is making the rules and you made $100 million, how many employees? And like you're running the R&D center, like that's a lot of money. We're not talking about any of the track revenue there. That's just that.
Yep.
That's all the sanctioning fees and the stuff that comes through the
I,
NASCAR entity. Um,
I
I
am absolutely dying to see how much Phelps brought in himself.
yeah, yeah, I would like to see. I would rather see show me under the lat to give you to be able to truly show the value of the charter system and show the monopoly portion and everything. I think you have to have at least the last 10 years of the revenue because that's the last TV agreement was 10 years. Take that whole
Yeah.
thing, show me their profits over 10 years. Because now you have when gambling came in, you have when the playoffs basically kicked off, you have all these other pieces, the buying up of the ARCA series, the buying up of the rest of the tracks, the agreements with Penske for IMS. There's all these other things that now you have more revenue sources to compare, and you can really see their profit margin over that period. So if this past year was 100 million, I would be willing to bet you it was more than that prior to some of the economic craziness over the last 4 years. I bet you they were making really good money under Trump the first time
Oh yeah, no
and
doubt.
toward the end of Obama's period because of the way the laws, the economy strength and everything and how that tied into the contracts. So what's your thoughts on it? I think they're going to have to settle. I'm with Chip. I want to see them go to trial because there's a lot of information in there. But at the same
I
time,
want them to settle for only one reason, and we've talked about it before. I'm scared to death that Judge Bell or whoever
Yeah.
will disseminate, or I don't know the word I'm trying to say, basically split the series
Yeah.
somehow.
Break it all apart. Yeah.
Uh, and I don't want that. You don't want that. We do want the owners to have a piece in it, I think. Uh, we want the owners to have their franchise, if you will,
Mhm.
and not have to ever worry about losing it if they don't want it. If it's not for sale, they're not losing it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think the
that's
part in the charter agreements where if you are last 3 years in a row, who gives a shit? I own that charter.
right. Yeah. You don't
Nobody
need the
takes,
franchise if the
nobody
first 15
goes and
suck.
takes the New York Giants uh chart, franchise away because they
For the
suck.
Panthers. Yeah.
So why would we do that here?
Yeah.
In F1,
And that's what
Formula
that was
Formula
their
One, you have Alpha, whatever they're called.
Alpha Prime, I
They're
think. Yeah.
Alpha Prime. No, they ain't Alpha Prime. That's the Xfinity team. Um, but you get what I'm saying. They
Yeah.
run last every damn week. Do you see them taking them off the grid? No. So why are we talking
Yeah.
about doing it here? So I think if you have a charter, you have a charter franchise. That's something that definitely is going to be in the settlement.
Well,
Is
that was in the declarations of the prior and some of the more recent documents that NASCAR with team communications coming out was their counterpoint to Jim France specifically saying, I can't give you a charter agreement that runs past the TV deal. They were like, bullshit. The NBA, the MLB, the NFL all still have their franchises during the next TV agreement. We work out the numbers after the TV agreement's done, but we don't all of a sudden all lose our franchises because it's time to renegotiate the TV deal, and then I gotta
Yep.
resign. Like we work together. It needs to be a symbiotic relationship. And some of the people like I got in arguments with on Twitter, like I feel like, NASCAR is very much a parasitic relationship. It's not a symbiotic relationship. NASCAR, and if you are a listener to this and you think differently, I would remind you to go look at Furniture Row Racing, Ginn Racing, DEI, Michael Waltrip Racing, any number of Daryl Waltrip,
Levine Family
Ricky Judd,
Racing.
the Vine Family Racing, any number of, Starcom, any number of teams that have come in, Troy Aikman, either big money people, billionaires, people that have won the lottery. There's all kinds of teams through the 77-year history plus of this sport where people have invested millions and walked away with nothing. Ray Evernham, you know, that shouldn't
I don't know how that man
they
still
have
has
no
any money.
assets to sell. And that's just crazy when you look at how, NASCAR is an organizational body. NASCAR doesn't own cars, they own tracks, but you can't race
I
air
know.
like a track.
Hold on. They own
They,
every car that's in the field.
but now, yeah, now you lease them. But up until this point, they didn't have anything. So when you look at it, NASCAR is saying, well, we deserve more. And they've built their empire, the France family specifically, off the backs of blue collar workers that built race teams back in the day that then became business to business people like Penske, like uh, Hendrick, or racing, Goliaths like Roush from other industries. But they've built their empire at the expense of these guys. And people don't show up to watch NASCAR executives race. They show up to watch those drivers that represent those teams, that represent those brands, that represent those heritage, you know, things. So I can't, I've yet to see anybody show me an argument where I think NASCAR is in the right, first off, or how they could possibly win. We went through the brief of the gold codes. You did everything you would do if you want to become a monopoly. You bought up
Yep.
every remaining stock car series that is close to a competitive tier. The only other one went out of business, SRX. You don't allow any cross competition. You now own the car. The teams can't do anything with that car because you lease it from the sport. You can't touch it. You can't take it anywhere and race it. But I got to spend $300,000 per car, up to three of them. So $1 million in
Can't test
investments.
the damn thing.
Can't test it. I have to share my data. Like How are you not a monopoly? If anything, you're a mafia. You're a crime family.
They
You
they
know?
have been since 1948.
Yeah. When they first
Well,
tried to do the unions, except this time, again, and that's what you and I think, have talked about it before we ever started this podcast. Like, it's been a long time coming, but with the power of social media and everybody having a voice, ignorant or otherwise, you know,
mainly ignorant.
mainly ignorant, Darth, whatever, as Brett would call them, dumbass race fans. But either way, you can't hide from the criticism anymore because everybody has a voice. The drivers, the teams, their PR, the brands, NASCAR, all the fans. Like everybody has a say if they want. So you're more now open than ever. And it's not the same thing. These aren't a bunch of poor guys that take their family car and race them anymore. These are, for better or worse, Chris likes to point it out, you're never going to have some guy show up with like a built in a small garage car anymore. That's just not going to happen. You're racing Fortune 500, Fortune 100, investment firms, capital investment. Like, that's who's racing. And
Yep.
those people are most certainly going to say, I want a seat at the table. Now, I think if all the teams had just stuck together in the first place, we would have solved this a lot sooner. But I do think, based off what they showed, if NASCAR if NASCAR gives what it sounds like they were willing to agree to, better
Do
charter
we
permits.
do we know what they're going to agree to? Because I haven't seen that.
There was in one of the articles they listed, there were three big things. Essentially, it was the teams were going to have a seat at the table. So they were going to be able to like help it. They weren't going to just be, here's the rules. They're going to have a vote in how the rules are done because it's at their expense. I got to buy a car I don't fucking own. I'm going to have a vote. So that was one of the key sticking points. The charter permits was one of the key sticking points. Like, and those were the two big things they had agreed. Like, they pretty much settled it until it came to the $100 million thing. Okay, well, if you look at what NASCAR stands to lose, it's way more than $100 million compared to what is Michael Jordan like. Yeah, I don't know what Bob Jenkins makes, but Michael Jordan makes several $100 million a year off of shoes and everything else. That's a drop in the fucking bucket to this dude. Like it would probably really fuck Denny Hamlin, but I think he knows that he's got the upper leverage now.
I think if they both truly want it solved,
Yep.
you split it down the middle.
Yep. I would just say, you know what, we each put in 50 and walk away. Take your losses. NASCAR. Oh, that was the other thing. They give back the charters. The teams get their charters all back. It's not like
Yeah,
they buy them
they
back
should.
in again. They get the charters and they get the money that they would have accumulated this year. That was the last sticking point. Like, I get my charters back. I'm a chartered team. I get whatever chartered earned payout. The teams get the benefited of the seat at the table and uh, the charter permanence. So, which everybody said it was about money. Money wasn't one of the things they listed. It wasn't, I want more of the money. I want to be able to have, it is about money in that I spent $50 million to buy a charter like the last investment firm, and you're telling me you could take it away. What happened to my $50 million? The whole reason why I bought in was because of the charter, because I would have a tangible asset that I could take to you and say, all right, I no longer want to do this. Right now, the market value is 800 million. If you want to put a car on the, four cars on the grid, and you could buy my four charters, and you could, kind of like what had gone through with F1. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else?
And off the top of my head, um,
I think that's everything.
I'm sad that next week is the last week, but it is gonna be a good break after, and I'm eager. It sounds like we're not gonna know about the way they're gonna run next year until January. So
Yeah.
we have
I've
two
got,
big things this off, well, three big things this off season. Where this trial, or if the trial happens, what Chevrolet uses for a car,
yep.
and what format we're going to use.
Yep, I've got a OneNote started for our off-season stuff where just a bunch of different topics, like you said. All right, what are we looking at here for leading into 2026? Like you said, we've got JRM picked up Rodney Childers. What's that going to look like? Daniel's going in the seven. We'll talk about that. What are Zilich's expectations? We got to talk about the point format. Oh, the other thing I want to talk about, not tonight, but when we get after the season's over, we now know all three TV agreements for the next 5 to 7 years. F1 went with one model, full streaming, Apple TV. F1 all racing will be on Apple TV. NASCAR is like a spaghetti soup. You got, like we talked about earlier, NBC, Prime, Fox, TNT, CW, some streaming, some not, whatever. And then IndyCar took less money, but they're on the big channel all the time. What's the right decision based off of viewership and ratings and
I I
access?
think I think when this is it a 10-year contract or seven?
Which one?
NASCAR's.
NASCAR's is seven.
Okay,
They
six
got
more
more
years.
money. Yep, 6 more years.
I think when we get that 6 years over, I think that they will take less money, and I think that they will get all their races on like CBS. They'll bring CBS back in and ABC. I think they'll try to get ABC back and just bring them all in so it's all on network television. But in 6 years, things are going to be way different than now. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not. There might not be a need for network. You know, there might be something out there that even if you live out in the sticks, you can have this thing that you can watch any channel. We don't know.
Well, so if you want to talk about it, we can. I was going to say it, but so,
I got 5 minutes that I
okay.
can
So
chill.
to your point, so you've got Starlink. So anywhere in the world now, you can have high-speed internet. Slowest it is 300 megabit down and up. So, and it's not ridiculously expensive. So anybody, whether you're, in the backwoods of Mississippi or in your RV going cross country, can have high-speed broadband internet. And then you pair with that, you got 5G with your phone. We're very quickly approaching an age where you don't need satellite or cable anymore. I think at the end of these 6 years, the intriguing point for me is at the end of these 6 years, I think in the short term, I think NASCAR is going to suffer for the next 6 years. We're at the end of the first year and ratings are down massively. I think they will come back depending on what they allow teams to do it through car and what kind of points format we pick with and stick with and things like that. But the key thing for NASCAR is I agree with you. I don't think you're going to need big network TV because I think NASCAR Productions will be mature enough then at that point. It'll have 7 years under its belt. You could partner with Fox and ABC, but I don't need their networks. I'm going to broadcast it myself, cover it myself, and I'm going to let you pay for distribution rights of my content.
Well, honestly, it just popped in my head. CW might want in on it and just take the whole damn thing.
Yeah,
CW is honestly their expanding numbers are rivaling Cup numbers right now. Am I wrong?
a lot of times. Yeah,
If
most race
if
weekends,
if, if
CW's
they're
right ahead
doing
of
that
Fox.
with Xfinity,
Yeah.
what could they do at Cup? I'm I'd be willing to bet that maybe CW takes the whole season.
They could. I think F1 doing the whole thing via streaming, even though that's something I would love personally, I don't think I represent I'm in the minority or the super minority. I would like to be able to purchase a streaming pass where I can watch all the races and it's just through a hub and NASCAR links. It doesn't matter who the provider is, whether it's ABC, Fox, NBC, whatever, that content comes through and you just distribute a portion of that through them for the reprocessing rights. Just because I want everything in one spot. And you and I have gone through this year with you trying to watch stuff on CW and you get market blackouts. I've been pretty much fortunate with YouTube TV, at least for Cup, not having that problem. That would be my only concern with going to CW is if CW took on a top tier series, not the second down, I would hope that they would update their app to allow streaming of live events.
They that's the thing. They stream practice live. They can do it live.
Oh
They
no,
just
no, I
choose
agree.
not to.
That would be my
Uh,
sticking point. That way, no
yeah,
matter
mine,
what,
mine too. Like
kind of like
make
NFL
your
Sunday
app
ticket.
stream
Yeah.
live sports. That's stupid. So the only thing that I would love to get changed for next year, and it is, it's absolutely doable. Right now we have HBO Max doing the onboards,
Hmm.
and like for this weekend, all four champ cars will have an onboard camera on the roof.
Oh yeah.
But all the other onboards, as you know, are on the dash.
Yeah.
I want, and it's so doable. I want every car to have the onboard on the roof. There's no reason it can't. You have the technology there on the dash. Just instead of being on the dash, put on the roof. It's a better view, and people are paying for it. So why don't you do it? I don't know if they're thinking about it, but I would love for it to happen because, and this is a silly reason, but the six drafting tracks, you can't see anything because
Yeah.
of the extra bar on the window,
Well, yeah, the extra bar, the extra tape for the sun, like the positioning because of
et
the
cetera, et
safety
cetera.
stuff. Yeah.
Put them all on a roof. You got people paying for it, and I don't even know if it's something that's being thought of, but it's already something they use. It's on. Everybody has to have a TV camera or a TV mount anyway
Yeah.
because everybody have equal aerodynamics. Put a camera in it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Just wanted to put that
I
out
agree.
in the universe.
The one I would like to get rid of, in that vein, if we all get a roof camera, get rid of that fucking spoiler camera. It's so
Oh my
worthless at
God.
99% of the tracks. And they make it out like, look how close they are. We don't need that. Get rid of the digger cam camera, the one down on the
You
bumper,
can
get rid
you
of the
can
other.
see you Larson had one of those and Tina loved it. She loved
Okay.
that right next to the ground. She's like, I wish this was on the whole race. And I said, well, you say that until he's bumper to bumper with somebody for 30 straight laps and you can't see nothing.
Yeah.
But
What I
I
would
just
like
wanted to put
them to
that in the
do
universe.
is let you, and when NASCAR was partnered with DirecTV, you had this where you could pick multiple camera angles. Like with everything being digitally, you know, multiplexed into this feed and with the UI now, to your point, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to pull up Kyle Larson and have all of his cameras, have in dash and roof and spoiler and the race feed all together. I can watch every angle of his car plus
Out the
his,
back, out the
yeah,
front,
like there's,
on the
and
front valence.
there's no reason we shouldn't be able to do that at this
Yep.
point where we are in technology anyway. So
Yep. I'm going to put a tweet out with unfiltered and with my own personal saying, tagging HBO Sports and saying, hey, just a little nudge. I don't know if they'd ever read it, but
you never know.
yeah.
Brass.
But that's all I got, brother.
All right. Well, that's our show. We were kind of spaghetti soup, if you will, kind of all over. A lot of good discussion. I hope everybody makes it through and enjoys the content. We got one more to go before the season's over. And then we'll head in the off season. We'll make some plans on what we want to do next year and how we want to, what topics we want to cover. We got a lot of things hanging out there as fans of this sport. Like you said, we need to see what's going to happen. We're going to settle what the schedule's. If we the other thing, to the point, if the format changes, does the schedule change? Because these
No,
tracks are set up a certain way right now for a certain reason.
you can't do that because the ticket sales has already been done.
Well, certain ones have been sold, certain ones have not yet. So there's certain
Well,
moves you could make, depending on how you
shit,
want
they've
to do
already
it.
figured out the Daytona 500 for freaking 27, which is stupid as hell.
Yeah. So,
But
all right. Well, enjoy your evening, buddy. Glad we're able to get
I'm
it
going to
in.
bed.
A
I
good
got a
weekend.
rare Thursday. I got to work.
All right. Well, have fun. Talk with you later.
Later.
See ya.